Oppression is my enemy.
Hello everyone. Today we gather not just to mourn the murdered, raped, mutilated and enslaved non-human victims. We gather to speak for those who are yet to be born, whose fates are already carved in blood, lives of confinement, forced breeding and brutal murders. For those who will be dragged from the waters and forcibly bred on land, whose bodies are violated to extract or control their reproduction, only to be discarded when no longer profitable. We grieve not only the piles of corpses in murder houses, but the stolen motherhood, broken bodies and crushed spirits. I shudder at the thought that such a day is even necessary, because no being should have ever been turned into property to begin with. We stand today in solidarity with those whose cries were mocked, whose silence was ignored, whose resistance was met with chains, blades, and boots. Let me add a few disclaimers. Animal liberation is not about the environment. Even if animal exploitation somehow benefited the planet, which it doesn't, no environmental gain can justify violating someone's rights. We would never sacrifice human freedom for ecological convenience. The same moral standards must hold for animals. Animal liberation is not about our health. Even if consuming animal flesh and secretions cured all disease known to humankind, it would still be wrong. No sentient being owes us their body. Bodily autonomy is not a reward, it's a birthright. Animal liberation is not about community building. It's not about spirituality or wellness. No other justice movement sells freedom as a gift to the oppressor. Only when animals are involved do we package justice as diet, lifestyle, or environmental benefit. That must stop. As children, we were told animals give us milk, eggs, honey, and wool, but they do not give anything. We steal, we violate. No tradition, belief, or craving justifies the exploitation of a sentient being. They call it symbiosis. But did the animal ask for this relationship? Did they agree to be raped, caged, or slaughtered? Symbiosis without consent is not partnership. It's parasitism dressed up as custom or culture. As a child, I sometimes accompanied my parents to butcher shops and fish markets. I was told to wait near the greengrocers while birds, fishes, lobsters, prawns, and crabs were selected, decapitated, bludgeoned, defeathered, or had their limbs broken before being chopped into pieces and stuffed into plastic. The violence didn't end because I didn't see it. I wish I had. I wish I had seen that feather dusters were torn out feathers, that leather was ripped skin, that silk was a cocoon boiled alive with the animal still inside. I grew up witnessing camel rides in Rajasthan where helpless camels were forced to carry humans or drag heavy carts through blazing heat. I saw monkeys dressed up in costumes and beaten into performing tricks to the beat of drums made with animal skin. I did question the abhorrent abuse behind it. I played the sarod for years, not out of ignorance but out of apathy. I knew it was made from the ripped skin of an animal who had no choice in the matter, and I chose not to care. And I grew up hearing from my father how during his and his team's mountaineering expeditions, donkeys, horses, mules, and yaks were forced into back-breaking labor, pushed to carry enormous loads across harsh terrains, often to the point of injury, collapse, or death. I became what I now fight against: a denier, a deflector, a hypocrite. Instead of questioning the violence, I normalized it. I paid others to do what I didn't want to see. I upheld the very system I should have resisted. I looked away not because I didn't know, but because I chose not to care. Today, animal exploitation is so embedded that we don't even recognize them as victims. We treat them as tools, as things. Imagine your hair ripped out to make a scarf, your body used in a laboratory, your pregnancy forced, your baby stolen, your milk drained, your genitals probed and groped. That is what we do. That is what we fund. And what of humane exploitation? If the grass was green or the kennel clean, would it make theft and rape moral? Absolutely not. There is no just way to violate someone. Animal welfare is rarely about the animals. It is a salve for human guilt, an attempt to soothe the conscience of the oppressor while keeping the oppression intact. The question is not how are they treated. The question is, why are they being used at all? Because using someone just because you can is the logic of supremacists. It is the logic of might makes right. Animals cannot give consent. If you believe in my body, my choice, that belief cannot stop at you or your species. Justice should not require language, intellect, or resemblance. Justice should only require sentience. I was once told by someone they cherish their silk sari because it reminds them of a loved one. But if that same gift mocked a marginalized human group, would memory justify oppression? We excuse animal abuse because we see them as lesser. That is the root of all supremacy. We say not as bad to avoid accountability, so we can keep sleeping on feathers, eating corpses, and calling stolen milk nourishment. Then comes the deflection. Let's fix human problems first before considering animals. But we never dare say, end all wars before Dalits get their rights. We don't say, solve poverty before you stop child abuse. Injustice anywhere demands resistance everywhere. You cannot use one form of exploitation as an excuse to ignore another. You should not choose between one form of justice and another, only between justice and injustice. If you are an artist using paints made from crushed insects, pigments derived from animal parts, or brushes made with animal hair, you are choosing aesthetics over ethics. If you are a musician using instruments made from gut strings, skin drumheads, or bone components, you are not just profiting from mutilation, you are aestheticizing violence, masking exploitation as art. If you're a scientist subjecting animals to experiments, slicing open their bodies, poisoning them, burning their throats, or confining them in the name of research, you are perpetuating brutality, not progress. If you are a chef treating sentient beings as ingredients, you are commodifying pain. If you are a religious follower exploiting animals under the garb of sacrifice, you are hiding abuse behind ritual. Whatever your role, if you believe animals exist to serve you, you're upholding supremacy. Justice is not negotiable. Rights are not rations. And justice does not require human-like intelligence. It only requires sentience. Look into their eyes of the abandoned calf lying helpless on the street, forced to eat plastic. The mother dog confined at the breeders, her body worn and broken. The hen crushed amidst countless others inside a hot crate. You will see terror, exhaustion, a silent plea for liberation. We have failed them until now, but we must not fail them any longer. So today, as we gather as activists who believe in justice, freedom, and liberation, let us remember this is not a lifestyle, not a diet, not a trend, and it is certainly not about the environment. This is a moral reckoning. This is about justice for all sentient beings. It begins the moment we stop seeing animals as abstractions, as resources, as means to our ends. It begins when we stop asking what they can give us and start asking what we are stealing from them. It begins when we stop using them entirely. It begins when we stop looking away and choose to confront the exploitation we have normalized. Use your reason not to excuse violence, but to expose it. Be consistently anti-oppression. Let me end with a quote by Peria. If a larger country oppresses a smaller one, I will stand with the smaller. If the smaller country oppresses minorities, I will stand with the minorities. If that minority has caste, I will stand with the oppressed caste. If within that caste an employer exploits an employee, I will stand with the worker. If that worker abuses his wife, I will stand with the woman. And I add, if that woman beats a child, I will stand with the child. If that child harms an animal, rides a horse, visits a zoo, demands a piece of flesh, I will stand with the animal. Because while the form may change, the logic of domination stays the same. Overall, oppression is my enemy. It must be yours too.